Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Fitness, where we keep that real estate muscle strong. I would love to now welcome to the show Malka, the organized fairy. Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me. This is really exciting.
Yes, I am definitely. Excitement is a great word because I am so happy to dive into this conversation because this is a conversation, Mocha, that I have pretty much every day with our sellers out there. But I don't have the background that you have, being this is your profession, this is what you do. You are the organized fairy. And so
Yes.
you help people, and I assume you have some systems and some processes that help you with this, but you help people get decluttered, get organized. And that is something that a lot of times sellers, if they're looking to sell their home, need to do. And sometimes they don't know
Yes.
where to start.
Yes. Yeah, that's always a tough one is knowing where to start, right? Because it becomes very overwhelming for them.
Right, because there's other things that they're thinking about, you know? It's not just like, okay, how do I get my home staged or how do I declutter so that way it doesn't look like a bomb went off in here? Because, photographers are coming, buyers are coming, other agents are coming, all of those things. And I want my property to look the best that it can. I want somebody to fall in love the second that they walk that threshold. And oftentimes that has to do with enhancing the space, right? Making it look more spacious, more bright, not making a buyer feel like when they walk through the door that, oh my gosh, you know what? This house doesn't have enough storage.
Mm,
Where am I going to put my stuff? If these people can't figure out where to put theirs, how am I going to do that?
yeah.
And that can often be the question. So, when you are meeting with your clients, and I know you don't always meet with your clients for purposes of selling, right? Sometimes you meet with them to just get their home refreshed, get their home organized so that it can be a bit more functional for them and for their family, right? So it's not always the case that they're selling, but I'm sure that you've run into it time and time again.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy to be on here and speak in this um, on this forum because it's something that I've been doing more of, which is working together with realtors to have their clients' spaces be show ready, whether that's listing photos, whether it's they're still living in their home while the listing is happening, and we really want it to just show in the best way possible because I'm sure you know as a realtor the first time it's listed, the first time the pictures are posted, that's the best chance you get at that like initial reaction, like wow. Either you get a wow, this house is amazing, or you might get a I'm not sure, and you want to be able to do that for your clients, and it helps you, be the best that you could be as a realtor, so the home sells faster. um, that being said, yes, we do all kinds of home organizing. Our clients are calling us to help them with their biggest pain points in their home. So sometimes we're being hired out to just do a one off space, and sometimes it's a full home organization. But when it comes to listing their home, we definitely want the space to shine. And so we are going to make sure to start with all the spaces that that agents will see when they walk through, or potential buyers will see when they walk through, and as well as when the photos are being taken, that they will really portray the home in the way we want it to. So that comes with, things as small as the couch, right? How many throw pillows are on the couch?
Yes.
It's a lot of people just like, it's like more cozy for them, but it doesn't list well. It doesn't show well. That looks like visual clutter. So when we're walking through our home, we want to look at our home through the eyes of other people, a stranger walking through, and what
Mm-hmm.
they might notice, right? And
100%.
yeah. So what we want to look at all our surfaces. Surfaces, I call them clutter magnets
Mm-hmm.
because we have something and now we have a space to put things down on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to think about how it looks from the outside person. So We want to make our display areas look really pretty and take away things that are not giving us that look. And I'm sure as a realtor, this is what I keep hearing is like, oh, I give my clients the list that they need to do and, prior to photos. And then they come on photo day and they didn't really do everything that they were told to do, mostly because maybe they're unsure of how to actually do it and execute it, where hiring an organizer to help them through that process is very helpful because we already have that innate ability of like making a space look better, function better. But I do want to add in that when it comes to, working with us in regards to, prior to a listing, we do make sure we're not just throwing things in closets. Like it's possible that realtors are doing that at the last second because it's like, oh my gosh, the photographer is here and we just have to like throw it all. We have to make it look better right now in the moment and you don't have a choice. But we're not just taking things away temporarily. We are really going through the process of decluttering, which is helping them do what they have to do anyway or should do anyway.
Correct.
Prior to moving. It's a very good thing to do because most people just have more than they actually need. And so if that's the case, then we can help them through that process. And then we're taking away anything that they're donating. So really all that clutter is going away and they don't even have it. And when it comes to packing up their home for moving out, that weight is already lifted off of them and they've already done that work. So that's the kind of, what's the word? That's the kind of like perspective and the way that I like to come forward is like, we're not just here to throw things in closets that, they can do on their own. They don't need us to do that. We're actually going through the process of decluttering properly. And then we'll go over the entire home and make sure every surface is pretty, every bookshelf. We don't put pictures in front of bookshelves, in front of books. Every space is very intentionally set up to maximize the beauty of the home and make sure that it can really list well.
Yeah, that's so important. And that time period that you were talking about, we call the honeymoon period. When your property just freshly hits the market, it's really that first 10 to 14 days that is really the most important, I would say, in the listing period. So you're absolutely right. That first impression is so important. It really goes so far. And I'm so glad that that's something that you focus on because that's very helpful for sellers out there. Have you seen any real big organizing mistakes that homeowners commonly make, or maybe not so commonly, that actually make their homes feel more cluttered instead of less? You mentioned blankets on couch, which I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So the blankets and the pillows on couches, that's a big one. And I think even some of the things, like bookshelves, right? Some people like to put pictures in front of books. It just, and our surfaces, right? Like we end up holding on to too much. And because those surfaces are a real clutter magnet, I try to actually prevent that in the first place and not have as many surfaces. For example, dressers in a bedroom. It's very easy to have a dresser in a bedroom, but I prefer having a closet where we can keep everything in there so that we don't have to have a dresser. Now, sometimes we don't have a choice. So it's really important to be super intentional about how we set up a space. And when there's something extra, it's very noticeable. And it's okay for there to be like things around because we're living, right? And we don't always have the time in the moment to put things away. But just knowing that like, okay, this is out and about and it shouldn't be there. Then when I have a second later, I'll take the time to put it away because it's obviously not meant to be there, right? And it really does have a place somewhere else.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm glad that you mentioned furniture because one big thing that I have realized is we tend to have, it's a common thing that I see, extra furniture.
Extra furniture, yes. I will always ask, like, is this necessary? Do we have to have this extra piece? A side table that doesn't really need to be there, that's big and bulky. And
Mm-hmm.
I call that all visual clutter because it's not necessarily like in your cabinet or drawers or a junk drawer or something like that where you might think like, oh, that's clutter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's that visual clutter that like there's just too you see too many things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Another big area where that's common for me to see is the kitchen. Do you have any advice on that? Because my typical advice is get the utensil rack off, get all of your small appliances. I
Mm,
don't want to see your toaster. Let's put it out afterward. I get you have to live. I get you need the coffee maker, all of that kind of stuff. But let's hide that away for photos and, if you can, if it's doable
mhm.
for showings. But do you find that you spend a lot of time in the kitchen just trying to clear things off of the
Yeah,
countertops?
the kitchen counters is a real sore spot and clutter magnet. A lot of times, families, like that's the place where families will congregate, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when they come in, they're dumping their mail there. They have all the appliances. And so I really try to like encourage, firstly, I try to get an idea from my clients like, are you open to putting appliances away? Like,
Yeah.
how often are you actually using it? So those are the kind of questions I'm asking them to get an idea of like, maybe some need to stay and some need to go. Obviously, when it comes to listing photos, depending on what it is, some of them do need to go a little bit more, and like
Mm-hmm.
we want less than more. But honestly, in my experience, most people want their counters clear, and
Mm-hmm.
they just don't know how to do it. And so maybe they find that they have too many appliances that they're not really using. So again, when we're going through this process, I'm asking them these kind of questions and we're decluttering, right? We buy something at a time that we think we're going to use it, and sometimes we don't end up using it.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of how we live. We're Americans. We have so much at our fingertips. We can order things quickly. It comes quickly. We try it. It doesn't work. We forget to return it. And then it's sitting there and it's sitting there and it's sitting there. So go asking yourself these critical questions is very important,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, let's make sure these are things we're actually using and finding a place for the other things. Because yes, we can get it out of sight, but we want to do it intentionally that really we're making decisions for the long run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Another, speaking of kitchens, and I'm going to include bathrooms in this one too. Another thing that I find myself consulting a lot on is throw rugs and towels.
Mm.
Those really can add, like if I'm looking at listing photos and I see, there's a couple of throw rugs in the kitchen or in the bathroom or whatever that truly don't need to be there. It's a real big difference when they're gone. And that same thing goes for towels as well. How do you feel about that? Is that something that you touch on as well?
Um, when it comes to listing, I mean, we know that the brighter the picture, the better it looks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm sure you do this as well, where you'll put in white towels for pictures because it photographs better, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's brighter, it creates a little like lightness. Um, but yeah, we're always, again, like going through this process, we want to make sure that we only have things that we really need and use.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one that actually lifts the like a mat off the floor. Anyways, it's good for it to dry properly and it's better for cleanliness. When you get out of the shower, you want to feel like you're stepping onto like a clean rug, a clean mat, right? And if people are constantly walking on it all day, I mean, everyone has different things in their home. We don't actually wear shoes in our house, but
Same.
I imagine that when people do wear shoes and someone's coming in with their shoes and stepping on that rug and you're getting out of the shower onto that, my mind just goes in all these places of like, no, that's not going to
Yep.
work. It's not clean. So, anyways, I mean, most bathrooms have that rod either on the shower door or on the wall, where you could hang that up. So it creates neatness. There isn't anything extra on the floor
Mm-hmm.
and it's clean too. So it's a good habit to try to get into anyway for people's families.
Yeah, I totally agree. If somebody feels completely overwhelmed and they don't know where to start, what's the first space or maybe like first category that you recommend tackling?
That's a great question. I would say it kind of depends on the person and the situation. And I'll tell you why that is. Some people need the motivation to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to tell them start if it's a woman. I think it's very important. We're very giving people, and we're always thinking about, we have so many different roles and we're thinking about all the different people. Actually start in your own space. See what it feels like to organize your own space and get to like a place of like, hey, I'm filling my own cup. I'm doing something for myself that
Mm-hmm.
I really need and want. And then give to the rest of your home that may need it too. And it's a pretty powerful thing if you think about it. Um, right? We always talk about filling our own cup first, and how do we actually do that? So we can try it here. Another way of doing it is really starting with your biggest pain point. If your biggest
Mm.
pain point is the playroom or the living room or the kitchen counter, start there. It might feel like a lot because that's a pretty big space, um, but just know that you're tackling that biggest, like, I guess just pain point in your life, that once you clear that up and once it gets better, you're like, okay, let me continue going. Let me continue to the other areas of my home that also need this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just kind of build on that momentum.
Yes,
Any tips on getting the family involved to help pitch in with that?
always. That's one of my favorite things. Always get your family involved. My biggest thing is that what we need to do is encourage your family. We all live in this space and we all need to contribute to the functionality of the home. And
Mm-hmm.
so some people like to do regular chores. Some people will be like, oh, kids, clean up after yourself. But I do find, I actually had a client a couple of years ago who had her kids' head chores, and she was telling me, like, I feel bad because they can't actually like complete it because of the lack of organization. So for example, one of her kids had a job to unload the dishwasher, and her kid couldn't actually do it because there wasn't space in the drawers and cabinets, and it wasn't
Oh.
clear where things go. So it's a tricky situation because, hey, we want our kids to be involved and help out, but can they be successful doing it? It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing like, hey, we want our kids to like put their shoes away and know where their belongings are and hang up their backpack, but do they have a spot to put it?
Good
Is it
point.
clear when we
Mm-hmm.
want them to clean up their playroom or their room when it's a crazy mess? Can they be successful doing it? So we kind of have to like set the framework for it and know that everything has a place, so we can be like, hey guys, here is the place. I tell my clients when we organize a space, give your kids a tour, give your husband a tour, give your family a tour, like show them how we set it up. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
there when that happens. So I'm like, it's really important step because this way they can be successful at cleaning up after themselves. And that's what we want, is like less on mom's shoulders, right? We want
Mm-hmm.
mom to not have to do as much.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with that. Sometimes it can be tough to, incentivize and to get them moving in the right direction without a huge fight. I'm sure
Yeah.
that you've been in that space before. So,
Yeah.
as parents, we totally get it. What's the difference between decluttering and organizing, and why is it
Mm.
important to understand that before you start buying your bins and containers?
Yeah, in today's society, firstly, the whole organizing industry has shifted so much
Mm,
to the beautiful bins, the rainbow design. And while that's beautiful and that is something that we strive for, we really want to do it with so much intention. And so we always start with decluttering before we actually organize, because you can't organize clutter. And
right.
so what that means is before we set things up to look better, we are taking everything out of the space so that way we see everything that we have. So I'll give you an example just for some visualization. Let's say we're doing a pantry, right? We will pull out every single item from the pantry and categorize it. So that way we see how much tomato sauce we have and how many cans of beans and how much cereal and all the snacks. So we see, okay, actually at one point we bought this in bulk thinking our family will use this and we're not really using it. And I didn't realize how many bottles of ketchup I have. So maybe we stop buying more ketchup, right? So, and then we can put things back with intention and organized and beautiful. We've removed all the things that are expired and we're not going to use anymore. And so that way we're only putting things back that we're using and we love and we want. And we can apply that same strategy to any place that we organize. It could be a garage. It could be a playroom. It could be a closet. It could be a laundry room. We're just going through the things. And once we pull it out, we have a clear view of what it is that we're using and what it is that we love and want.
Totally agree. And I love what you said earlier in the show about not moving those things. Like, why would we spend our energy, in many cases, our money to pack and to move and to all of that, the things that we don't desire to take with us? I don't know if I ever mentioned this little story to you on a previous show, but it kind of makes me chuckle a bit. When I was in college, I had a girlfriend that had helped me move to a different apartment or whatever. And she's opening up some boxes and she was really helpful. And she was trying to help me unpack and whatever. And she opens up this huge box of just like papers and documents. And she's like, "What is this?" And I said, "I don't know. It's just my shredding that I haven't gotten to yet." And she's like, "You actually moved your trash. Like you really did that?" And yeah, I did, Malka. I did that.
Listen,
I don't recommend it.
Learn, right? But yes, that is a really good example of what not to do. We don't want to pay movers to move things that we don't need anymore. And I want to add in that is, it doesn't matter if someone is buying the biggest house with so much square footage and storage that they can have a spot for. There is no need to move with things that we don't need anymore. And so It doesn't, whatever it is, moving is just the right opportunity to start to go through space by space in your home and make sure you're not moving with anything you don't need and want.
Totally agree. Trust me, been there. What systems do you recommend, if any, for busy families that want to keep the home organized and show ready consistently, because we never know when we might get a showing, right?
Yes.
Instead of doing the, "Oh my goodness, we've got 2 hours to reset this house and make it look presentable because we've got a showing coming." Like, we want to avoid those massively stressful moments.
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of that recently, and I also attend a lot of open houses. And so I do get to see, and I do give feedback to realtors, like sometimes I'm kind of surprised how a home is shown. And before I give you the wins that you can do, it's really important to know that there is a very small percentage of people that can visualize a space differently than the way it's shown.
Agreed.
So staging is really important because of how some people can't visualize a space without furniture, and they don't know how to even set it up. Where does the couch go? Where does the TV go? Where do the bookshelves go, or the bed in the bedroom? Like, which wall makes more sense? And so that's where staging comes in, right? Mm-hmm. So imagine on the opposite extreme where someone is still living in their home and they have their own stuff, and maybe someone would set it up differently than how they set it up, because there could be multiple ways. So it's really important to put in that effort, because if there is clutter in a space, and I've seen it in open houses, that whether it's a pantry or closets, people are walking through and checking it out.
Right.
And it's very hard to visualize that without the clutter. So that being said, that's where organizers can come in and help if someone needs that kind of help. But we really want to remove that visual clutter. We want to make that space look and feel the best that it can. So I think I'm actually thinking on the spot that having someone else come in, maybe even a friend who you could be like, "Hey, Tell me what's wrong here. I know a realtor will do that and will give you the list of things. But besides for going through every space and removing the clutter, we want to make sure that visually it just appears beautiful and nice,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so when we make sure that every single thing has a proper place, that is very helpful. So if you know you're having a showing in a couple of hours, you can easily and quickly reset your home because everything has a place already, and it just has to go back. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, we're living,
Mm-hmm.
we have families, we're coming and we're going, and we have such busy lifestyles, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the value of every single item having a place, is that resetting our home really doesn't take long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I also love what you said about paying attention to the closets and to the garage and those kind of areas, those areas where storage does happen. Because again, like I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, I have heard feedback. I mean, I've been doing this over 20 years, right? And I have heard so much feedback about, well, geez, I just don't think this place has enough storage for me. And it
Yes, I
probably
hear this so
does.
often.
Right.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's kind of difficult for many people to envision the space differently than what their eyes are seeing. So if I'm seeing that the linen closet is busting at the seams and there's stuff falling out when I open the door, then that's going to be potentially, depending on who I am, difficult for me to unsee that.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And that's why, like, every single space matters. You shove things. I've opened closets because as an organizer, those are the spaces that I'm organizing. So those are the spaces that I'm opening.
Right.
Most people don't. They'll walk through the kitchen without opening a cabinet. I want to see how deep the shelves are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That matters how much you could fit on a shelf,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's important. You never know who's walking through. You never know who your potential buyer is. And you want to really make sure every space just shines to the maximum.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. You could have a chef on your hands
Yeah.
where like you mentioned, the size of the shelving and do the shelves pull out and how many are there? And, do I have enough space for my special pans and whatnot? So they may very well pay very strict attention to that area. So I love that advice. Last question for you, Malka, is when somebody's preparing their home for sale, starting to think about photos, showings, and things like that. I know that we spoke about about visual clutter,
Mm-hmm.
but are there any other quick organizing wins that you might be able to think off the top of your head to help others sort of get started and start gaining that momentum? Because oftentimes what I have found is that when we can make a big impact, then that creates excitement, right? And oh my
Yeah.
gosh, now I want to do the next space and the next
Yeah.
space. So
Yeah.
any suggestions there on what can make the biggest visual impact for somebody that's just getting started?
I think that starting at the front of the home where people actually walk in can make such an impact, because you'll feel that too every time you walk in, and you'll be like, oh, it feels so good walking into my home. Right.
Yes.
And that's the feeling you want others to get when they come in. So starting there, making sure, less is more. We want less there, again, because of that visual clutter. And seeing, like, walk in your house and see, like, hey, what do I notice? Let's say I'm a stranger coming in. What do I think shouldn't be there? What can I clear away to make sure that my home will really shine the most? And I think this is also like where I'm sure you find that people are doing this often when they're selling a home. But imagine if they do this prior to selling their home, where they can really enjoy the space so much more, right? Like they're
Themselves,
renovating the
yeah.
bathrooms, or they need a paint job, and like they're like, hey, like they're doing all this extra work. I mean, not extra, but work to benefit the selling of the home.
Mm-hmm.
But like, imagine if the organizing of it and all of that stuff happens while they're still living there, and they could enjoy it, because that's really what matters, right? It's really for our own enjoyment and for our own pleasure. And Just something to think about.
Yeah, no, I'm in full agreement with you on that one. And I think that it's important. What you said was walk into your home. Now, a lot of times, I don't even remember the last time I walked through the front door of my house. So a lot of times we're going in
Right.
and out like the garage door, right? Between
In the
the garage
garage.
and the
Yeah.
house. So oftentimes
Yeah.
that's where the family, the people who live there are accessing the home. So it's really important to walk through your front door and see what that feeling is. What is that experience walking through the front door? Because again, that is the second impression, I would say, because first impression's curb appeal. But second impression is walking across that threshold. And if you haven't done it in, 5 years, then it's probably something you should do and see what that experience is like, and what you can do to enhance it. I also suggest to people take your own photos and look at those photos,
See
and
what you
then you
see.
exactly,
Wow.
because
I
that
like
can be a
that.
little different than
Yeah.
being there personally. And you may see different things where you might not. So a big pet peeve that I have is wires. I don't like wires in my photos. I feel like it really draws the eye, and it doesn't
Yes.
enhance the space, right?
Yes.
So I might walk into my house and I may not notice the wire going to the lamp or the wire going to the television. But if I take a photo, I probably will notice it then, and then I can remedy that. And that's just a matter of
You'll
like
notice
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's just a matter of
Yes.
like, let's stuff that wire up behind the television. I've even
And that's
had people
something to
like,
take care of too. Like we notice that kind of stuff.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I've had people tape it up there
Sorry,
just for photos.
we
That's okay. We have a little
cut each
delay.
other
That's fine. But I've had people do that where I've just said, hey, photographers coming in, I'm really strict on photo day. All of my clients are nodding their heads right now, like, yeah, it's true, she is.
up.
So we'll do some things that they're not necessarily going to live like that. Like you're not going to live with the cord of your television taped up behind your television set, right? You're going to live with it plugged in. So just some different things for photos, and just some different tricks that I've learned over the years that really helps.
Yeah, that's amazing. Love it.
Well, thank you again so much for being here and for sharing in this conversation with me. I feel like we probably could have talked another whole 30 minutes on this subject.
Well, then let's do it again.
I think we need to. I think we need to talk about exterior the next time that we chat, if you're on board for that, because I definitely have a ton of advice about preparing exterior, and I'm sure you have a ton of advice about preparing exterior as well, like backyards, play spaces, front yards, different
Yes.
things like that. That really and truly is your first impression as you roll up to a property that is, you guys, like, please take it from me. It's a big deal. Yeah. So we'll have to have you come back
Let's
on
do
and
it.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, as always, so I've had Mocha on before, so she totally knows the drill. I do have your contact info in the show notes, but while I have you on, what's the best way for our clients and followers and viewers to get in touch with you if they would like to consult with you?
Absolutely. So you can check out my website, theorganizedfairy.com. I'm on Instagram. You can see some of the work that I do there as well. So it's just at The Organized Fairy. And my number, you could call, you could text, we'll chat, we'll talk about what you need. 602-824-8479.
Awesome. She's making it real easy for you guys out there. So definitely connect with Malka if you've got questions, if you want to have her come over to your place. Do you, and I should probably ask that, do you go to your clients' homes and like do a walkthrough and like a quote kind of thing? Or how does that work if they would like to work with you?
Yep. We do an in-home consultation. That's always how we start.
Nice.
So that way I can see the space. You can ask all your questions. It helps me prepare for the actual organizing session. And then I can quote you on a package that best suits your needs based on what I see. Beautiful. And then we take it from there. Yep.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you being here, Milka. We'll definitely have
Thank you.
come on again in the future, and we'll talk about exteriors next time. So guys, stay tuned for that. And if you are finding value in these videos, we have been around forever, guys, delivering these action-packed, value-packed videos and podcast episodes for you to help you. So if you're finding value in that, do us a favor, and whatever platform that you're listening on, just reach up and click the subscribe button or the follow button, whatever that platform allows for you to do. That way you don't miss a beat, you don't miss the next episode, and it kind of sends us a little message too that we should keep on doing this. So if you could do me that favor, I will keep being here and keep showing up with value for you guys. If you want to check out any of our previous episodes, maybe you like to watch, maybe you're a visual person, you prefer video style, over on our YouTube channel, it is at Team Evo AZ. That's our handle. Scroll down just a little ways, you will see the real estate fitness playlist, and you'll scroll by a couple of other really cool playlists as well. So I would encourage you to hang there just a little while. You can certainly binge for days. I think there's over 1,000 videos on that channel. So plenty of information for you guys there. On your favorite podcast platform, if you prefer to listen podcast style, do a quick search for Arizona Real Estate Radio. There you'll find us as well. Like, follow, subscribe, all the things. You will never miss us, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much, Milka.
Thank you.
Bye.
Looking to buy or sell in Arizona's hottest neighborhoods? Meet Team Evo AZ, your Arizona real estate experts, driven by data, powered by passion. Meet Matthew Lambert and Katie Holly Lambert, the powerhouse duo behind Team Evo AZ at eXp Realty. With their talented team of agents, they're making Arizona real estate personal and powerful. Trusted, tenacious, Team Evo AZ. Team Evo AZ offers full-service real estate, powered by strategy, experience, heart, and a passion for helping people move forward. Ready to make your move? Visit www.evoaz.com and follow us on social media to connect with us.